Good morning and welcome to our session this Friday morning, Friday of Camp Meeting 2020. We are here, Andy and I, this morning with Dr. Sung Kwon for the last weekday morning, though don't miss his presentation tomorrow morning too, but our last weekday morning session. This morning, we are talking about the performance measurement for effective ministries. And here's what I will promise you. I will promise you that you will learn a lot, because I've watched it and I'm still learning new things, and it's good. So this will be a very interesting one to learn how to figure out, is your project doing what you were hoping it would do? So let's turn right now to Dr. Sung Kwon. Thank you for joining us this morning, and teach us how to do ministry better.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It is truly my honor to torture you once again. As TGIF, thank God for it's Friday. Sabbath is coming. Amen. Well, as you heard, we will talk about how to measure our success. Oftentimes, we measure our success based on only quantitative data. Even church, we say how much of a tithe and offering, how many church membership, how many institutions we have, how many things that we give it away, how many people we serve. It's all quantitative success measurement tool, which is important. I'm not saying, the numbers are not important. I'm Korean, so after all, numbers are important. But beside numbers, you have to have a story. Are we changing lives? Are we transforming our communities for the kingdom of God? So we have to learn how to measure our success, not only quantitatively, but quality of our ministry. So that's what this topic is about. And it's actually written in my book, chapter 5 of Burst the Bubble. So if you have interested in this topic, or perhaps, didn't understand quite what I was saying, maybe you can refer back to the information. Well, we began with the agricultural society. The agricultural society focused on coordination. That was the key operative word. And then when it became industrial age, we focused on cooperation. We cooperate, coexist. And then age of globalization, we begin to communicate. Anything that you can digitize, computerize, you can communicate. Right now, I'm in Maryland, and you are in Portland, Oregon, but we are communicating. This is the beauty of globalization, the ability to communicate. But today, we are living in age of conceptualization, heavily influenced by postmodernism and post-Christendom. And this era, we are focusing on collaboration. Now, there's a difference between cooperation and collaboration. Cooperation is like, this is your pie and this is my pie, and we draw a line in between, and we say, don't you ever cross that line. We cooperate, coexist. But collaboration means this is your pie and this is my pie, and how can we combine our resources and manpower together to make a better pie? So this is the era that we're living in. So my church, my program, my ministry does not have much of a appealing in this era. So we need to figure it out. How do we collectively make impact? This is why the church, as I said before, you have to be diversified thinking and process. You have to have a story, life-changing story. You need to become salt and the light of the world. You need to build relationship with the community, weeping with the people, rejoicing with the people. And then you, as a Christian, you have to be excited. You have to become contagiously exciting people, that you serve the God of the entire universe. If that does not excite you, I don't know what does. And what kind of legacy we're trying to leave behind 5 years from now, 10 years from now, how this community will be different than today because of our faithful presence, engagement in our community. And the values. Don't teach all the rules and regulations and do's and don'ts, but Christian value. kingdom principles. That's what people are asking for. And then mission. Do you have a clearly defined mission? Why do you exist? So I ask you, do you have a written statement of your purpose? When people see your, a vision statement, mission statement, core values, do they know why you exist? I went to a church and I was talking to one of the elders. Where's your mission statement, vision statement, core value statement? Because those things that I'm interested in. So I asked for, and he said, well, we believe what General Conference believe. So I was like, okay, well, then tell me what General Conference believe. He said, well, they believe what we believe. I mean, it was a kind of joking, conversation. But sometimes we don't know why we exist in Gladstone, Oregon. We need to have that clearly defined mission. So it begins with the core values, and then you can have a mission statement out of the core values. Then you can develop the vision. So you have to have a strategic engagement in concrete written format so you can communicate with the people. Is your church organized church system to support that vision? You regularly reference your vision in meetings, at lunch, and private conversations. You need to constantly refer back to your purpose. But sometimes we put together this documentation, put it on the wall, and never looked at it again, and then we have our own agenda, color of carpet, color of the wall, we got to move the piano from the left and right, and then we just preoccupied ourselves, and far from the vision. So you are known for trusting God and stepping out in faith. That is what this is about. So I'm going to share with you theory of a change. The theory of a change is like overarching term. And under that overarching term, you're probably familiar with the SWOT analysis, like a strength and weakness and opportunity threat. That's one model. And then another one is like a freeze, unfreeze model. And then the Patrick's reasoning, 5 ways of reasoning. So all these are different types of engagement. And I'm going to share with you logic model, which was actually developed by Kellogg Foundation. Kellogg Foundation, late 1990, they said we need to learn how to measure our success not only quantitatively but qualitatively. And in fact, many all sector leadership, they kind of resist that whole notion. How do you measure our success qualitatively? It just didn't register in their organizational culture. But make a long story short, they pushed on, and then they revisit and reframe, and they explain to the people the logic model will help people to clarify who will be served, their focus group, and specific focus group. We don't use the word target people. That's very inhumane. You don't target people. You're not in hunting mode. So don't target people. But you need to define who is your focus group, primary, customer that you will serve. And then what should be accomplished. So you define your focus group: youth at risk, elderly, homeless, substance abuse. Then, based on your focus group, what are the immediate needs that you're trying to meet? So what should be accomplished, and specifically how it will be done. So that's what the logic model is. Who is your focus group, and what societal challenge you're trying to deal with within that frame of your focus group, and then how it will be done tangibly, recognizably, and visibly. So instead of having this, event driven programs, as I said before, some of us have become 7th-day eventist. They would like to do lots of event. And in fact, we think that one event is connecting to the next event, but in reality, it's not. We do isolated, eventful engagement. And we think more events, we are more successful, but it doesn't work that way. In fact, this is the question. If you always do what you have always done, you will always get what you have always gotten. That's the eventist, that is not good. So we need to start applying this long-term sustainable engagement, community development plan and implementation through logic model. So this will also help you to define, how is your dependability? Are we doing things that we say we will do? How is your timeliness? What are the things that you are doing within the time frame that you have promised? And how is your empathy? Are you meeting the needs of your focus group instead of keep, like a shotgun deal? So somehow we're going to catch something. No. And then, how is your tangible evidence? Are we doing things in ways that communities know their service has been performed because we have demonstrated that recognizable, visible, tangible result? So in order to apply logic model, we have to have some terminology agreed on. And first is efficiency. See, this logic model will help us to measure our efficiency. This is quantitative success. QT is a quantitative, short letter QT, and this is all about numbers. So we will learn how to measure quantitative success, the numbers through efficiency. And then effectiveness is a QL. This is qualitative, and this is life-changing stories individually and also community as, by and large, as a transformational engagement. So when you are efficient and effective, then you can say you have made collective impact. So when people say, oh yeah, we are all about making an impact. Yeah, sounds great, but how do you make an impact? In educational institutions, they say, we believe in excellence of education. Good for you, but how do you measure that excellence? You see, that's what this is. So we have to measure our collective impact based on efficiency and effectiveness of our ministry. So I'm going to flip it over here. So it will help you. Qualitative is, we say QL number, and this is measuring effectiveness. EFE, effectiveness. It's a life-changing story. And then quantitative, QT, we are measuring efficiency, and this is all numbers. So you have to have numbers, and you have to have a story. Story without numbers, not a complete picture, and the vice versa. So I think we got it. So we're going to jump right into this logic model. There are 5 components. It's not that complicated, really. It sounds complicated, but it's not. I'm a very gifted teacher. I can take a very simple subject matter and explain in such a horrible way so no one will ever understand what I'm talking about. I'm very gifted. So I'm going to walk you through this, and if you have any question, you let me know at the end. But there are 5 components: input, activities, and output. These are quantitative measurement. We are measuring efficiency of a ministry, and this is all about numbers. And then outcome and impact, this is qualitative measurement. We are measuring effectiveness of our ministry, and it's all about stories, individual and collective as community. So far so good? So I'm going to walk you through it. Now, input. What's the input? Inputs are all the resources that you need to do your ministry. Simple as that. Your staff, volunteers, time, facility, equipment, supplies, all that resource, tangible and intangible resources that you need to do your work, your ministry, is called input. See, it's not that complicated, isn't it? Yeah. So what's the output? Well, activity. Activities are the second. Activities are not the same as events. In fact, we don't do any more events. No more events. Repeat after me. No more events. All right, good deal. Yes. Now, activities are product, service, infrastructure. So it's a PSI. It's not philanthropic services for institute, I know, but it's a PSI. Now, P stands for product, which means that, let's say I'm a medical doctor, okay, hypothetically, and I do 5 days stop smoking program. That's my passion, and that's what I do, okay? So product means before I begin, before I do anything, I'm in my living room, I'm designing the 5-day stop program, and I'm thinking what sort of educational tools that I need to develop. Do I need a PowerPoint? Do I need a flip chart? Do I need some sort of a video clip? What sort of educational material that I need to develop, curriculum, what sort of modules that would be included. So this is educational material we are referring to, products. So what do I need to educate people with, okay? And then service is when and where, how it's going to be delivered. Is that going to be one night a week for 5 days straight at the church, or once a week, 5 weeks at the local civic center? So when and where, this service will be delivered. So I'm envisioning right now in my living room, thinking about it, right? And then third one is the infrastructure, which means partnership. Who will be part of this great endeavor? Who can be part of this 5-day stop smoking from public sector? Do I have any partnership in combined health district, the public health and human service? In private sector, do I have any support and partnership, potential partnership that I can rely on and get some support and whatnot from private sector and non-profit sector? I'm sure there are other entities that are out there fighting against smoking, right? So I'm not the only one thinking about this as a passion. I'm sure there are some other people, God has put passion in their heart about smoking issues. So I need to look for like-minded individuals and entities that are working on this, challenges in our community. So I am in living room. I'm thinking about 5-day stop smoking program. So what products do I need to develop? When and where it's going to be delivered? Who is out there that I can work with? So that's PSI, okay? So after you've done all that, you actually implement the program. You implement the program, so that's output is a direct result of that program activities. So you can actually measure how many products that you have actually developed, how many PowerPoints, how many flip charts, how many videos, how many props, you name it. And then service, how many times that we have delivered this program at the church, civic center, different places right in our community. And infrastructure, partnership, how many partnerships that we have developed, public sector, private sector, nonprofit sector. So you can actually measure that in numbers. It's a direct result of your program activity. So activity is a trajectory. You are thinking about it, what could be possible. And then output is a direct result. Actually, what happened after you implemented your program. So you see that? Okay, it's very clear, right? So far, so good? Right, okay. All right, good. Output. Now we're going to go into outcomes. Outcomes is qualitative. There are some people interchangeably use output and outcome as a same meaning, but it's not. Quantitatively, you measure output. So output is quantitative success, and the outcome is qualitative success. So you measure KSA, which means knowledge and skill set and attitude. What's that mean? Well, let's say, I'm doing 5-day stop smoking, and I need to know whether I made a difference in individuals in their learning. Have I increased their knowledge? Have I enhanced their skill set? Have I influenced their attitude? So I need to learn, to measure if I made any difference in individual participants. So I know some of you are probably thinking, how do we do that? That sounds very complicated. Well, we do implement pre-test and post-test. So let's say you come to my workshop, in a 5 days stop smoking. The first time that you arrive, as soon as you arrive, I would have actually a survey. I would have a questionnaire that dealing with smoking related knowledge-based questions, skill set-based questions, and attitude-based questions. So I would have those questions before you even take my class. But after we're done, after 5 weeks or 5 months, whenever, I would have a post-test asking same question that you have taken in the beginning of this journey. So actually, I can compare before and after. I can see whether I have increased your knowledge or not. I can see whether I have enhanced your skill set or not. I can see whether I have influenced your attitude or not. So whether you are doing nutrition class or family counseling program or domestic violence, substance abuse, doesn't make any difference. Whatever ministry that you do, you need to learn how to measure outcomes of your participants, your knowledge, skill set, and attitude. I know it sounds complicated, right? And it sounds like a lot of work, but you can do this easily with the SurveyMonkey type of online program. It's free. You don't even have to pay for it. There are a lot of tools out there. And if you don't know much about this, ask your teenager, the children or grandchildren. They will tell you all kinds of survey tools out there that you can use. So, but it's important. We need to focus on individual life in a changing experience through whatever the ministry that we provide. So KSA, pre-test, post-test, this is what you do. Then we're not done yet. This is a little bit of a complicated part. A lot of people thought that this is just crazy. Well, what it is I will come after you every month. 12 months. Every month I will come after you and ask you but same question. Knowledge, skills, and attitude, month after month for 12 times. So what am I doing? Well, two things. Number one, I am collecting research-based data, evidence-based data. You see, I want to develop stronger and broader partnership and financial support from our community for this stop smoking program, right? Because I don't want to keep paying from my own pocket or my own church budget, which is very limited. So in order to cultivate, financial support and the greater, contribution and support and partnership from community, I have to demonstrate my program credibility. I need to demonstrate, that my program works and I have a greater sustainability. People who go through my program, let's say 90% of them will quit smoking. And a year later, they are continually quit being smoking. So there is a greater result that I can demonstrate. You see, so that data is a key point. Oftentimes, we tell people we are vegetarian, so we live a healthier life. Good for you, but how do you demonstrate that? You have to have research-based data, evidence-based data to convince people we are living healthier life. Does that make sense to you? Yeah. So that's what it is. So we need to collect the data, whether you are doing children's ministry, youth ministry, Pathfinder, it doesn't make any difference. You need to collect the data to see whether you are making a difference or not. And the second thing that I'm doing, not only we are collecting data that we need, but I'm building relationship with you. I'm getting to know you. I'm getting to know about your life, your complexity of your environment. I'm getting to know your spouse, your children. I begin to understand your financial struggle, your marriage conflict. Maybe there is elderly people that you have to support and you have to work full time. There was an issue with you being caretaker. I'm beginning to understand your complexity of life journey. So I am not only there to collect the data. Perhaps I'm coming back to my church and asking my church members that I encounter with this person going through financial management problem, is there anyone here that can go visit them and give them some sort of advice, counsel on financial management? Or do we have anyone who can counsel them with a marriage, conflict, or children at risk, substance abuse? So we are connecting people, constantly, and building relationship between the church and community. So it's not just one time, high five, we're done. No, we are continually visiting and revisiting and trying to meet their needs beyond smoking, the whole person being well. Remember that? Physical, mental, social, and spiritual. So we're trying to meet their whole person needs through various engagements, so that one day I will earn the right and privilege to share the truth that I have with the person that I've been visiting over the years. Does that make sense?
Yep.
I know some of you are probably thinking, that sounds like a long term. It's like a 1 year. How? We don't have that kind of time. Hello? Are we going anywhere? We need to be faithful until Lord comes. I don't know what it is with this, instant gratification, attitude. We've been customary, I guess, drive-through bank, drive-through food. Even we drive through church now, So we think that we can just drive by people. No, slow down. Look at their eyes and talk to them, not with your head, but with your heart, and build a relationship with them. Is that right? That's what outcome is. All right. And then the last one is impact. Impact is actually what's happening in your community and and also your organization. So because I've been doing this 5-day stop smoking for the last 5 years, let's say we have reduced 30% of smoking in our community. 30% of people are they're not smoking anymore. That's awesome, right? And let's say we've been working with our public sector in this thing, and they love it. They love our program because before, the government has to put a lot of money into healthcare, but people are not smoking, living healthier life. Now, tax dollar, instead of paying for healthcare so much, they can actually redirect that tax dollar to education, housing. You see? Yeah, because the people are living healthier. So we don't need to pay, a whole lot of money into it. Let's say I've been working with this private sector, this company with the 200-300 people or employees, or even small companies, 50 or less. It's okay. It doesn't make any difference. I've been working with this company and providing this stop smoking program, healthier living, vibrant life message with the employees over the years. And gradually, most of the employees are now not smoking anymore, not using drugs anymore, not drinking anymore. They're living a healthier life. The employer will love you because their healthcare cost has been reduced tremendously. Maybe they can use that money they used to pay for healthcare. Now they can pay for scholarship to go to, maybe higher education, maybe greater financial assistance for childcare. Make a better place to people to come and work. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Exactly. This is the betterment of a life altogether. This is why we call it collective impact. We are working all together in this thing because there is a benefit in a multi-directional benefit in all this, in this partnership. Amen? So how we are making a difference in our community 5 years from now, 10 years from now. Have we reduced, substance abuse 20%, domestic violence 50%, substance abuse 35%, so we can actually, see the tangible, recognizable, visible collective impact. And then what happened to your organization as a byproduct? Because you have been focused on community, transformation, making difference in people's life as a byproduct. What happened to you and your organization? Is your church vibrant, healthier? Are you growing in numbers? Mm-hmm. Hello? Yeah, because you are out, you focus on your community, your agenda has been changed. Instead of, self-serving, self-focused, or fighting over for carpet, color and wall color and all that. Now we are focusing on saving souls for the Christ, you see. So I hope you can actually begin to see there's a greater benefit in applying this thing. And some of you are probably thinking that, well, that sounds like a business model. We are church. This is not relevant to us. Well, this logic model can be applied in every aspect of our life. Every Labor Day weekend, I take my family for camping. So what's the input? Well, I need a family, right? Yeah. Budget, car, camping gears, these are input. Now, what's the output? Well, my wife is cooking and my children are pitching tent and I'm monitoring entire process. Somebody has to be a manager. Right. So this is output. What's the outcome? Well, after we have a nice dinner, we're sitting around, campfire and holding hands and singing Kumbaya and building a good father and son bonding, mother and daughter bonding. That's outcome. You see, life-changing story. So logic model is not just business, concept and plan and implementation, but it is every aspect of life we're living in. Now, here goes. This is my question for you. So we say input, activity, and output. This is quantitative success. It's all about numbers and measuring efficiency. And then outcome and impact, we are measuring qualitative. And it's a story of life-changing story and measuring effectiveness. Okay, let's say I'm your pastor. I've been torturing you with this logic model over the several months. So you finally said, okay, pastor, we're going to give it a try. Instead of being eventist, we will become, transformational disciples. So let's do this. Okay. Now, out of these 5 components, which is the first one that we need to answer? Oftentimes, most people focus on input. Do we have enough money? Do we have enough volunteers? Do we have enough facility? They ask that question first. That is very wrong. You need to ask first, what is our collective impact that we are envisioning, how we will transform our communities and how we make a difference in individuals' life. That big dream, BHAG, have you heard that? Big, hairy, audacious, goal. That's what we need. We need to envisioning big dream. The dream is something that we cannot accomplish unless God intervenes. Did you get that? If we could accomplish with our own efforts and knowledge and resource and experience, that's not dream. That's a program. That's your plan. And God is not interested in your program. God wants you to dream big, so big. Unless God intervenes, you cannot accomplish. Does that make sense? Yep. This is why we begin with the impact, kingdom of God. Then second is outcome, how we will transform people's life, KSA, remember? Knowledge and skill set and attitude. Then you ask what sort of PSI we will be involved with, what sort of activity. Is that a 5-day stop smoking, nutrition, youth at risk? Is that a substance abuse? Is that a divorce and marriage counseling? Whatever that is, you need to design a product, service, and an infrastructure. All right, this is the dreaming part, right? Then you implement that in actual setting. Then you can actually measure how many products and how many services you have conducted and how many infrastructures you have established. And then last but least, you ask yourself, okay, what do we need to do this? Does that make sense? If you ask input first, you are very much program driven. You are eventist. So change that mindset. Begin with a dream of kingdom of God. And God will provide you the resources that you need. Because if you keep looking at people inside the church, 4 walls, limited membership, limited finance, limited possibility. But when you're looking at the whole community, remember that PSI? who's out there in the community that we can work together. You already have identified the possible potential, the partners and the resources in the community. So input is the last thing that you ask. It's not the first thing that we, trying to focus on. Hello? Yeah, we have to change the way of thinking. We have to change way of working. So why all this is necessary? Because when you work on core values and the mission and the vision, it will help you to establish more effective ministry. That's why you need outcome and impact. And then input and activities and output will help you to establish specific goals for next 5 years. Who will be your focus group? And then strategies, but implementing, strategy, specific action plan. And then instead of doing all this in a hodgepodge, a shotgun deal program, you will have a specific, no more than 3. Each church should not have no more than 3, engagements. And then you can begin to say efficiency can be measured. So when you are able to measure effectiveness and efficiency, then you can actually say you can measure your what? Capacity. So when people are saying we are all about capacity building, good for you. You need to demonstrate that in tangible way. And you need to show your effectiveness and efficiency. So I said no numbers without stories, no stories without numbers. Friend of mine was doing the water project in Kenya for a number of years. A number of villages they enter, how much water they were pumping. Even he bragged about the length of the pipe that he was drilling. I mean, it was all numbers. And the people in the beginning, they were excited about this water project and gave money toward to that mission. And it was pretty good deal. And then about third year, people are not giving anymore. No financial support like it used to be. In fact, 30s and 40s, they're beginning to decline tremendously. So, he hired a consultant to figure it out what's going on. He could have just bought me a sushi lunch and then I would have just tell him, the problem that he has, but he had to spend all that money. But anyway, the consultant said, well, you are all about numbers. Your website, your brochure, your e-newsletter, everything is about numbers. How many villages, how many people, how much water. And this is not exciting. You got to tell people life-changing story, how your ministry is making a difference in people, in the village, and so forth. So he was like, I do water project. What do you mean story? So finally he came to me and complained about the consultant that he hired, pay all that money but no answer. So I said, idiot, you focus on story. Make a long story short, 2 things we focus on. One is crime, second is education. So I know probably you're thinking how the water project is connected to education and crime. Well, this is reality. Usually teenage girls, female girls, will go 2-3 miles out and get water and bring it back to the community, right? So every day they have to go back and forth 2-3 miles. Now during this commuting, going back and forth, they often get raped. That was the way of life over there. All right. So now, because they don't have to do this every day, they have access to the water in the village. Guess what? Crime rate goes down. You see? And the second thing, because they don't have to do this every day, now they can go to school, be educated. Education opportunity goes up. You see how the water project is connected to a crime rate and education? Now, which is more appealing to you? If I talk about all the numbers of villages and how many, villages, how many people access to water, how much water we're pumping, or we focus on individual teenage girls that now now they are not getting raped. They are living in healthier and safe environment. Now they have opportunity to be educated, and then they can actually grow out of that environment and making a difference in their lives, and they're making a difference in their community and the country or whole world. Who knows, right? Which is more exciting to you? Yeah, exactly. So you got to have numbers, and you got to have stories. So any ministry, if you just focus on numbers without stories, you're not telling the whole story. I'm sorry. All right, good deal. So this is why I said you have to have your passion for your ministry. Then you have to have, to find what are the competencies, the skills that you have, and then resources, and then work on that, passion, that the challenge in your community. Okay, whatever that is. So that logic model helps you to define that. Who is your focus group, and what societal challenge you're trying to deal with, and then how you will tangibly make a difference. Now, here's a little bit extra. We got 5 more minutes, so I'm going to do this quickly. So this is a 5 years plan, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We usually do our church ministry planning this way, year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5. Logic model actually helps you to think backward. You begin with the 5 years, 5th year, what is the end product look like? So if someone said, I want to have a PhD, before PhD, you got to have what? Master. Before master, you got to have what? Bachelor. Before bachelor, you got to have a high school. You see how that goes? So you need to, beginning with end in mind. That's the CAVI, 7 highly effective people. So you begin with a dream. What is that end product looks like? Okay? And then every year you do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You do formative evaluation every year. And then you do summative evaluation at the end. Why you do summative evaluation when you have done formative evaluation each year? Well, based on what you have done last 5 years, if Jesus is here, thank God. We pick up and go home. That's it. We're done. Finished. But if Jesus is not here at the end of this journey, at the end of the 5 years, then based on our progress we have made, we need to project next set of 5 years, because it's a continuum of our journey with our Lord Jesus Christ. It's not done at the 5 years, then you're done, you see. And we need to be faithful until Lord comes. So this must be faithful journey that we are involved with. And then based on this, formative evaluation, you have to allocate your resources and manpower. So let's say you had 3 different, major engagements. Year number 1, at the end, you have identified you had a success in this way. And then based on that success, and maybe year number 2, you might want to invest your time and resource and manpower this way. And then based on that result, year number 3, you might want to consider, investing it, this way. So each year, after you go, at the end of the year, you go through a formative evaluation and decide next year where we will invest more manpower, more financial resources, more support, based on their progress. The areas that they're doing well, maybe we put less investment. Areas that needs to be improved, enhanced, we put more investment in there. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So it has to be strategic, the support, allocation of finance, and adding manpower to get that big dream accomplished 5 years from now. Somehow we just don't get that. And a lot of people say that why all that is necessary. Well, because we need to convince people. This is the art of persuasion, Aristotle. He said you gotta, in order to convince people, persuade someone, you gotta have logos and pathos and ethos. Logos, had knowledge-based information, so you can involve with the cognitive disquisition. pathos in an emotional connection instead of afflictive argumentation. And ethos is your life. People have to see, and touch and feel that your passion and your conviction and your values. So this is why Dr. Putman, reiterated, logos is head faith, is to follow Christ. And the pathos is a heart faith. And that head faith must be connected to your heart faith, being changed by Christ. And then that heart faith must be connected to your hands, which is demonstrating your commitment of the mission of God in tangible and recognizable and visible way. So in order to persuade people, you really have to demonstrate that you are committed for equipping people, transforming your community, taking the good news of salvation to the ends of the world. And I don't know. I'm sure there are other ways to do it, but to me, logic model is really logical. So I am totally convinced, the sooner we implement this, we will have better result in our church community outreach ministry and church growth. And heaven will be populated with all kinds of nations and languages and tribes and so forth, because we made a difference in individuals' life. We made a difference in our community. Any questions?
I have some questions, but maybe we could bring those up in the next session at 10 a.m.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, great. Yeah. It's time is up. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no worries. No, it was such an amazing presentation. Thank you so much, Dr. Kwon, for that. Just something that I actually was able to get out of that is really how to transform our ideas or imagination and put it to practical use. And once it's implemented, actually being able to measure that. And I think a lot of our ministers, sometimes many individuals, we lack that. So you gave us a lot to chew on, and I took a full page of notes, and I probably could have done a couple more. But we look forward to our panel discussion that's coming up here at 10 o'clock. So about 14-minute break, and we want to invite you to come back, and maybe during those 15 minutes as you're digesting kind of what Dr. Kwon was talking about, submit your questions online. Laura is actually on Facebook live, and she's kind of looking at the questions, and I'll be on YouTube. So again, thank you so much, and we look forward to having you guys here in a few minutes.
All right. Thank you.